Hello there and welcome back to Pansu classes. I hope you are doing great and wonderful. Alright, I thought to start this session with an activity. And for that you need to think and work on it. So the question is, this is a shape over here. Oh, it reminds me, what is the name of the shape? You already know this, isn't it? Yes, this is called rectangle. Okay, so you need to rotate this rectangular shape in such a way that it must look exactly the same. How are you going to rotate it? By one full turn? Obviously, by one full turn, anything is going to look the same, isn't it? So think about it. Turn it in such a way that it must look the same. And it should not be a one complete turn, okay? Now, for that, we need to learn about the concept called rotational symmetry. So in this lesson, I'm going to tell you what is a rotational symmetry. There are different ways to rotate a shape, right? You can rotate it clockwise, just like how the clock moves, or you may also rotate it anti-clockwise, which is the opposite of the clockwise direction. Alright, so in either ways, you can rotate that rectangular shape in clockwise direction also, you can rotate it in anti-clockwise also, you can rotate it. But make sure you are getting the same shape back. Now, for example, let's have the alphabet X over here. If I'm going to rotate it by one full turn, then obviously any figure is going to look the same, right? Let's rotate it by half. If I'm going to rotate it by half, then also it is going to look the same. But what if I want to rotate it by a quarter turn? That is, this is X just by this. If I'm going to rotate it, then it will look something like this. Then these larger gaps are going to be shifted like this because you are rotating clockwise. Okay, if you are going to rotate it anti-clockwise, then also you will get the same shape. Okay, so which one is similar? By the half turn, you're getting the similar shape, isn't it? But by 1/4 turn, you're not getting the similar shape. So you are going to rotate this alphabet X by half turn. Then only you're going to get the same shape back. And this, my dear, over here is called rotational symmetry. You are rotating the shape, still it is looking the same, right? Similarly, you can look around yourself and try rotating the shapes, but make sure to rotate it by less than a one complete turn. You can maybe choose for a half turn, for a quarter turn, 1/4 turn, 1/3 turn, 1/6 turn. So you can rotate it by any way, but it should be less than a one complete turn. For example, the pen that I have over here. If I'm going to rotate it by one complete turn, then only it will look the same. But this is not rotational symmetry, okay? You have to rotate it by half, let's say. Then this shape has been changed, isn't it? So that means this pen, however you rotate, it's not looking the same. That means this shape doesn't have the rotational symmetry. Okay, so every shape will not have rotational symmetry. Some shapes only will have that rotational symmetry. For example, let's take the alphabet O and H. If I'm going to rotate O by 1/4, that is a quarter turn, then it will not look the same. But what if I rotate it by 1/2? Then make the alphabet O on the sheet of a paper and try to rotate the sheet. And see, by 1/2 turn, it is exactly going to look the same. And same goes with the alphabet H. So, alphabet H also looks the same in some rotation. Can you tell me by half rotation or 1/4 rotation or 1/3 rotation? By what rotation it is going to look the same? Yes, it is going to look the same if you're going to rotate it by a half turn. And this, my dear, over here is called rotational symmetry. And a figure only has rotational symmetry if and only if when it is rotated, it is still looking the same as it was looking before the rotation. But make sure the rotation should be less than a one complete turn. Now tell me, how about the alphabet A? Does it have rotational symmetry, the alphabet A? If you're going to rotate it by 1/4 turn, then no. If you're going to rotate it by the half turn, then no. So in any way, it doesn't have a rotational symmetry. If it takes a one full turn, then only it is going to show you the same letter A. Otherwise, if you're going to rotate it by half, it will look something like this. But this is not a rotational symmetry, right? This is not looking the same. So therefore, only some of the objects, some of the alphabets have rotational symmetry. Everything doesn't have rotational symmetry. Okay, now let's look at the applications of it. The question that I asked you in the beginning, yes, you can rotate it by 1/2. If you're going to rotate it by 1/2, then you will exactly get the figure back. But let's say I have a rectangle over here. If I'm going to rotate it by 1/4, then it will look like this, isn't it? It is not the same. The shape has been changed, isn't it? But if I'm going to rotate it once again, that is by half, then I'm getting the same shape back again, right? So therefore, in case of a rectangle, if you're going to do the rotation by 1/2, then only it is going to look the same. Now let's practice a few questions, and the question is this. Rotate this shape by a quarter and tell me, will it still look the same? Quickly make it on a sheet of a paper and try to rotate the shape by just 1/4. Not the 4 turns, no, just one turn out of the 4 turns. You remember, right? What is quarter? Quarter means 1/4 turn. So that means out of the 4 turns, you just rotate it one time. So it is going to look exactly the same, right? So therefore, in a circle also, we can see the rotational symmetry. Look at this shape and tell me, Yes, if you're going to rotate by 1/4, it will look exactly the same. So this is the 1/4 turn, right? Out of the 4 turns, 1, 2, 3, 4 turns, you have to just take 1 turn, okay? And it will look exactly the same. So therefore, in case of a fan also, the rotation is 1/4. But what if a fan has only 3 blades? Then you have to rotate it by 1/3. Amazing. Now let's summarize whatever we have learned in today's class. So we have learned about rotational symmetry. So after the rotation as well, the shape is going to look the same. Those figures only have the rotational symmetry. And in order to rotate the shape, the rotation should be less than 1 complete turn. Then only. Okay, you can rotate the shape in the clockwise direction or in the anti-clockwise direction. Clockwise direction means the direction which the clock moves, and anti-clockwise direction means the opposite of the clockwise direction. Now you can rotate any shape by 1/2 turn, 1/4 turn, 1/3 turn, 1/6 turn, doesn't matter. But the rotation should be less than 1 complete turn. Now it's your time to spark your curiosity and look around yourself and figure out which shapes have rotational symmetry in nature. I'm gonna see you in the next session. Till then, take care. Bye bye. See you.